Okay, we are live on another edition of the Edlow Pod. This is a super special one. This is the 100th episode of the Edlow Podcast. And with that, I have the specialist of guests. I have my oldest son, the one who made me a father, Austin Edlow. Austin, welcome to the Edlow Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Josh.
Well, I can already see where this is going. So, I have to say, so I'm glad that the timing of this, because you're a senior in high school, you're wrapping up your first semester. And as a father, I have to start out by saying how proud I am of you getting this far, but not only getting this far, but also I've seen just such a marked difference in you as just a human growing and developing this year as opposed to others, because you're just on top of all your stuff. You're just on top of your things, and you're working really hard with basketball and choir and your band, and you're just so busy. And I'm just so proud of you. And so I wanted to ask you right out the gate, what changed? so there is an audio component to this where people who are going to be listening on Apple or Spotify will not know that you just shrugged that you don't know. So but the thing is I mean, what do you think it was? Because I mean, we've talked about this. Look, wait, I know that I've ridden you pretty hard sometimes about putting working hard and putting your work first, and and things like that. And this year you just seem to get it. I mean, was there something that happened differently, or was there something you thought about?
I don't know. I think I just got less dumb. I don't know. I got tired of getting screamed at. I think maybe that was part of it. That definitely helped.
well, I'm glad that the screaming finally helped. No, I think that it's just so interesting because I remember, truth be told, I don't think we've ever talked about this, but I think I've shared with you that in high school, I wasn't the greatest of students. I went to a high school that was not nearly as hard as John Adams, in that because I was a basketball player and everybody knew me and loved me, they just kind of passed me regardless of whether I did the work or not. And so the problem with that is I got to college and I really struggled. I really struggled for a couple of years because I didn't know study skills. And so I'm just excited that you've kind of figured it out now. And how do you feel about that? How do you feel about yourself, just like with your work and all the things that you're doing? I mean, you're so busy. Like, I mean, I want to emphasize, like, and I think it's good. Like, you are in so many things. You've added varsity basketball, which is a grind. As someone who's played basketball, that is a grind. Plus your rock band, plus all your choir commitments, plus your church commitments. How do you feel?
I mean, I don't know. It feels pretty good. It's nice I was able to like toss all this other stuff on top because, truth be told, so far senior year hasn't been too bad compared to like past years. I don't know, because the big thing is the thesis, and it's 20 pages, and we have something like 3-4 months to write it. So I don't know. I mean, it's nice because I'm piling all the stuff on top that I enjoy doing instead of just spending all my hours every day just reading. So I don't know. It's a nice change of pace.
One thing I've also noticed too, you started kind of last year, but this year you've come home and you actually like sharing with me things that happen in class. Are there classes that you're taking that you have found are appealing to you, or that you kind of have a knack for?
Well, I mean, I'm taking a music theory class this year. That's pretty cool. And I mean, this year, I don't know, it's nice because humanities, normally we have like English and history, and this year it's kind of, I don't know, it's like we kind of just read books and then come in and talk about it, or we, discuss topics. Like we had a debate recently that, I don't know, kind of went terribly, but it wasn't my fault, so that's okay. I don't know. I mean, like, it's nice because a lot of our classes now are just, you know, like understanding material and then just discussing the material as opposed to like having to sit down and like grind through assignments. So I don't know, it's nice to kind of have like a more free flowy classroom environment where we can just kind of have, they call it colloquium. So we just discuss and argue a lot, which, I like to do. I think that's your fault. So.
That might be being the son of a lawyer tends to force you to get good at arguing. But do you have books that you've actually enjoyed reading?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, what books? What books?
The most recent book that I really liked was Brothers Karamazov. It's like a Russian. I sound like such a nerd, but I don't know. It's I don't know. It's a Russian novel. It's about brothers. It's like I don't know. It's religious, and there was a lot of books we got into. I took a political philosophy
Who?
class last year.
Stop right there. Who wrote that book? Was that a Dostoevsky book?
Yeah, yeah,
Dostoevsky. That's right.
Dostoevsky. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you like about it? Why did that stick out?
Um, I don't know. I mean, it really interested me. There were a lot of ideas in there that were really thought provoking. Stuff about the existence of God and morality and stuff like that. And I don't know. I don't know. It was just really interesting. I don't know. It's interesting to read and think about and contemplate and then argue with people about. So, and that's one of the times where I've actually had a full book for school that I actually read all the way through instead of just like reading bits and pieces and then giving up, half the time. So I don't know. It's cool. I don't know. I like the
Yeah.
book. Yeah.
What other books did you like?
Um, I mean, last year there were a lot of books I liked because we took that political philosophy class. So we read Aristotle. We read C.S. The book that really stood out to me the most was Abolition of Man by C.S. Lewis. Yeah, I don't know, really thought provoking stuff. It really changed the way that I think about the world. 'Cause it talks about objective value and it tries to prove it from an objective viewpoint, right? Without the ideas of religion, right? Just proving that there has to be something objective that's above all men, so that because I mean, otherwise, if we decide what's good and bad, then the people above us are going to be the ones doing that, and then we're just all slaves. And I don't like being a slave. So
Yeah. Well, so it's what you mentioned it changed the way you view the world. How so? How do you view the world based on this book?
well, I mean, beforehand, I always kind of looked at things as good and bad exist because you know well, I mean, God obviously, but also I figured that you know if there was no society, then there probably wouldn't be good or bad, right? That it exists because people tell us, oh, this is good and this is bad. But now I've kind of gotten to a point where I have a better understanding of the ideas. I don't know, I'm writing about I'm writing my senior thesis on virtue, right? And why a virtuous life is the best one. And that is true regardless of, whether or not society tells us, because a virtuous life is becoming more and more of a taboo issue, right? Not a lot of people are, you see just like the rapid decline of virtue with a revolution of like sexuality and like just in general, right? Of just people being less virtuous. So I don't know, the last days kind of stuff. So I don't know. I just
Mhm.
thought it's a really interesting topic to me, and that's just kind of abolition of man really kind of changed my viewpoint on that. And also, yeah, it's pretty much.
So I want to pick your brain a little bit about this because I know we've talked a little bit about this, but let's have the conversation. So when you say living a virtuous life, that could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. What do you think living a virtuous life means? Because it's
Um,
not just sex, right?
mhm,
There's virtue is a lot of different things. So
or-
in the world of Austin Edlow, what is a virtuous life?
I think that the best way that I can live a virtuous life is live a life in accordance with God, right? And what I believe that God wants for me and what God knows is best for me, because I don't always know, right? And abolition of man, he describes it as the Tao, right? Tao. He describes it as that being the thing out there, which objectively provides, it's objective truth, pretty much objective value, and like included in that is virtue. And so um yeah, I mean, some people could argue, right? I believe that that Tao would be God, right? So God decides, God is objective truth, right? God decides what objective truth is, or maybe he operates under objective truth, I don't know. But um yeah, that's what I'm going to do, is live my life in accordance with what God wants, because the way that C.S. Lewis argues it is that our goal as human beings should be to come closer and closer to what the Tao is, right? Because there's a lot of different, you can't argue that everyone knows the Tao, right? Because there are a lot of different perspectives, like you said, on what a virtuous life is, right? But
Mhm.
he argues that there is one true virtue, right? There is one true life, which is the most virtuous life, and our goal should be to um, he says, to be closed-minded about the idea of objective values, right? But to be open-minded to new understandings of what that objective value is. So,
Mhm.
like don't basically like I don't believe that virtue is a subjective thing, but I believe that I can be wrong about what's virtuous, right? And I can alter what I
Mm.
know to be virtuous to be more in line with what is truly virtuous, if that makes sense.
It does, and let me break it down for you because we're Mormon, right? So let me break it down in Mormon terms. So in Mormon terms, we believe in personal revelation and also continuing revelation, which means most Christian religions believe that the canon is closed, meaning that when Jesus left the earth and the apostles all died or took off, other than Catholics, um, they believe that the canon closed and there is no more continuing revelation. We believe it's open. So as we receive more light knowledge, we will receive more revelation that helps us to live a virtuous life. And not only that, but that also means that things such as what God wants us to do might change. Like, for example, when Jesus came, he was Jewish, and then he fulfilled the law. Now we're Christian. And his followers are no, we don't follow the Jewish traditions, like I guess the what do you call them? Like all the rules about I can't think of the name right now, but all the Jewish laws about how many steps you can walk on the Sabbath, how many knots you can tie. We don't stone adulterers anymore. We don't do those types of things. We don't animal sacrifice. So those things can change. And you agree with that?
Hmm.
Okay. And I wanted to ask you also, it's interesting. So objective truth, does that mean, it sounds like what you're saying is according to true that you believe that if everything was destroyed right now, the whole world was destroyed, and a whole nother through the evolutionary process, a whole nother group of humans came along, you believe that the truth that we hold as the truth today would come back virtually the same as it is?
Not necessarily, because I believe that there is an objective truth, right? Are we are we at like do we have the correct understanding of the objective truth? I have no idea, right?
Hmm.
Because our understandings so basically the idea is our understandings of the truth do not they do not define the truth, right? Things
Hmm.
like I don't know, things like math will never change, right? And then like that's more cut and dry, right? 1 plus 1 will always equal 2, even if an entire society believes 1 plus 1 will equal 3, 1 plus 1 is always gonna equal 2. And like you could talk about, oh well, maybe like one for them is 1.5 for us. Like that's just different. Like that's different terms, right? When it comes down to the idea of like the what's the word? The concepts that they define, then like the simple fact of the matter is 1 plus 1 will always equal 2 no matter what you do. So I don't
But how
know.
does that play into truth and virtue? Because,
I
like,
think
for example, right? Well, you go back to the Jewish example. The Jewish example was that if a woman was caught in adultery, that you were to stone her to death. They thought that was virtuous. Now to us that sounds crazy,
mhm.
right? So, uh, in that context, what is it? What do you view as the objective truth?
Well, even now, right, there's cannibalistic colonies that eat humans, right? And like
Yeah.
there's always been human sacrifices in certain, cultures, and like I think we can agree that, murder is wrong, right? Sacrificing a
Yeah.
human would be wrong. I think that
Mhm.
again, I think that that has always been objectively true, perhaps, and I think that, if what I believe to be true is correct, then they were just incorrect about what was true, right? So I think that again, like our understandings can change of what truth is, but truth I don't think changes per se.
Hmm. So, do you think then we are, according to what you believe and also what you've read with C.S. Lewis in these different books, do you believe that the pursuit of objective truth is like a lifelong quest?
Absolutely. Absolutely
Okay.
it is. And I think it's important also to continue to be open-minded about what the truth may be. A lot of people may think that it may be a closed-minded approach, that the idea of objective truth is closed-minded, because I think subjective truth, my truth is becoming um a continually like preached idea. And I think that it's quite the opposite, actually, because if if truth is subjective, if you decide what is truth, then you'll never listen to anybody or anybody else's ideas of truth, and you'll never change your ideas of truth to, come closer to what the truth may actually be, or, yeah. So I guess, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Maybe I'm
Well,
not good at
well,
talking. But
no, I got to tell you, that is very astute for someone who's 17 years old. And I know we've probably talked about this a little bit just based on my dealings you're aware of, but like this whole my truth thing is one of my biggest pet peeves in the world, because my truth is exactly what you're saying. When you're saying my truth, like you and I both see a car accident, okay? Or we say a car drive by. You may experience that car as being blue, and I may experience that car as being gray. And what that is we've experienced it that way. But if there's a traffic cam in the intersection as it's walking by, we can look at it and we can determine whether it is blue or gray or some other color. That video is the truth. You saying, well, my truth is that it's blue, is just you stating what your opinion and experience was and not what the truth is. So this concept of my truth is such a big pet peeve, because you stated it really well, what you just said, which is you said my truth is basically just a way to strongly state your own opinion, and then you don't listen to anybody else's. It's just and the thing that's so problematic is this whole my truth thing is causing this big rift that we're seeing in society right now, where we have two kind of growing factions of people who think they're right and the other people are absolutely terrible, and that they're bad people because they think differently. So I wanted to ask you, this goes this way. So virtuous life, objective truth, where does respect for others' opinions play into that?
I think it's very, very important, right? Because if we're striving for objective truth, then we need to stay open-minded to other people's beliefs and ideas and understandings of what truth may be. And so, we need to compare it with our own understanding of truth, and we need to decide, okay, well, are there certain things that, that they're correct about, and are there certain things that I'm correct about, right? We need to take our own understandings of truth and try to get it closer and closer to the Tao, to what that truth really is. So,
Mm.
yeah, I definitely think what you said is true, right? Like what I've noticed since I've started learning about these things is that it seems like every issue is just so divisive and continually so. And I think that, I don't know, the more and more I look for it, the more I see it is that it seems that their goal is division. It seems that their goal is almost divide and conquer,
Mm.
or maybe like, I don't know. It seems like their greatest means of control over, maybe their party, or, over a group of people, is by kind of separating themselves and their ideas from these other ideas and saying those ideas are evil and wrong, and everyone who believes it is also evil and wrong, right? So I don't know. It's really scary to me that the more I look for it, the more I see this division and like hatred for each other. And I don't know. I think it's doesn't bode well for us.
Well, but there's a way to fight that, and that is somebody at some point has to be the bigger person. And so I think, you've shown here, I think everyone would agree. I'm a little biased because I'm your dad and I love you, but I think everyone would agree that you're very well articulate. You articulate your arguments well. And as long as you can do that, state it strongly, and then also when somebody has a differing opinion, still be courteous and kind to them, that is the beginning of fixing this rift. And accepting that when you have these opinions, some people aren't going to like them and may not want to be your friend. That does not necessarily mean that you should change your beliefs just because of that. It might be a reason for you to reevaluate, but not a reason to change. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now here's the thing that's interesting, and we've talked about this before. You go to John Adams Academy. I think we both have things we really like about that place and some things we really don't. And so, but I got to tell you, I am impressed, especially when I hear about the books you're reading, such as Abolition of Man, Brothers say it for me, Karamazov, because I read that in college, and I also read some of these other books. Like I know you've read the book about Frederick Douglass, Narrative of a Slave, and you've read You've read Nietzsche. You've read all these books that I didn't get to until upper division college. So that's really impressive. What are some things that you like about John Adams?
Um, well, I think, like you said, it's really nice that we're learning through these classics. It's a liberal education, right? So we get the opportunity to read about, all these different we read from all these great thinkers, and we learn about all these different understandings and perspectives, and we I think the goal is that we all come into our own and kind of, you know, forge our own beliefs and understandings. But I mean, also, like, you have kind of the juxtaposition of it's a very Republican school, right? It is very Republican. Um, I think part of that is because they don't push a lot of the liberal ideas that you see in a lot of public schools, and so you have everybody who doesn't want those ideas coming over to, like, John Adams, right? And all those people are Republican. So you kind
Mhm.
of have a culture of, a lot of, and also a lot of members of the church too, interestingly enough, which I guess makes sense. Um,
Mhm.
but I don't know. I mean, it's kind of interesting to see the juxtaposition of, like, living in California and seeing, all these strong liberal sentiments, and then going to John Adams and seeing all these strong, conservative sentiments. And I don't know. It's kind of interesting to see. But yeah, I definitely feel like I can think a lot clearer than I could, like, earlier, especially in high school specifically, because high school, it gets pretty difficult, and we lost a lot of kids. My grade, it had something like probably 200 kids when I was in, middle school, elementary school, and now our graduating class is 50. So a
Mhm.
lot of people left, and I mean, I don't know. Only the strong survive, I guess.
Weak, weak. No,
Yeah,
no. I
but
know a lot. I know people who left for various reasons. A lot of them moved. COVID. Your freshman year was COVID, so a lot of people left the state. Um, so, what's something you don't appreciate about John Adams, or you think they could change?
um, well, first of all, I swear, the admin have no idea what they're okay, that's I no idea what they're doing is probably not a good way to put it, but they're never consistent with how they run things ever. Every year there's something different. Every year there's something different changing. I think it's still a fairly young school. My grade is going to be the first grade to go all the way from kindergarten through 12th grade. So, the schools, I guess that'd make it the 13th year. I don't know. I think that maybe the school needs to grow and to reach a better point where they know what they're doing, and they have, like, a consistent routine with what they're doing, because they keep changing stuff. This year specifically, like, they'll keep switching between block schedules and, I guess, non-block schedules, and, like, methods of grading. This year specifically, they switched completely from letter grades into, like, a 1 through 4 grading system, and I don't think even the teachers don't understand it. I've had teachers tell me, like, "Yeah, I have no idea what's going on." So, it's kind of annoying, specifically because, it's our senior year, and there's kids
Yeah,
doing college applications, and, like, they don't know what their grade is, and they have no way of checking. So, I think that's the biggest problem, is simply the fact that they're really inconsistent with how they run the school. And then also, I've had some problems with certain admin in the past overstepping their boundaries, and maybe abuse of power, maybe kind of, an exaggeration, but doing things that I don't think are within their rights to do. So that's no
mm,
fun. But that's not the school's fault, right? That's on an individual level, that's problems. And that's gonna happen no matter, like, where you are or who you're with, right? Because people suck. So
yeah. It's interesting. I have a bit of a love hate relationship with your school, in that I love the fact that There's a few things I really love about your school, and the first one is I do love how well spoken you have become, just by, and I attribute John Adams to that, for that quite a bit. But not only that, but also every friend you've ever brought over here is a good kid, and because the parents who put their kids in John Adams want them to go there, and so they're very involved, which I think helps. I mean, some of your friends are a little bit more out there than others, but they're all generally good kids, and that says a lot about you too, because of the friends you select, or maybe you just don't send your crazy ones over here. I don't know, but
we can do both.
uh, but so now you've done these things, you're kind of finding your niche. Where do you want to go now? Is there anything you'd like to explore in college? I'm sure we're going to talk about music. I know you're going to want to do that, but about is these types of these classes, is there anything that you'd like to do more of?
Well, I think philosophy was really, really interesting. That's definitely something that I would like to maybe look more into. I think maybe writing would be an interesting avenue to go down. I mean, the one thing I will say though about all this is I'm so sick of reading. I'm so I don't know, and I know that no matter where I go, reading is going to be a huge thing, especially with like philosophy and writing. Like obviously, I'm going to be doing a lot of reading, and I don't know, maybe I'll come to enjoy it more. But I have read a lot over the last 3 years, and to be pretty honest, I'm kind of sick of it. But
Yeah, well, here's the thing though. If you go down the philosophy road, you might as well just go to law school because there's nothing else you can do with it.
yeah. Well, there you go.
So, yeah. So, now let's get to a couple. We're going to add some questions in here and there. So one of the questions, let's see. Let me get through some of the more anonymous ones. I saw a couple of them. Let's see. What is your biggest goal and how are you going to get there? There was another one that's very similar that said, where do you see yourself in 20 years? So,
Hmm. What is my biggest goal? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure my goals will, change and develop over the years when my priorities shift. But I think right now my biggest goals would be, you know, to be a good person, to make other people happy. And then also, I don't know, one of my big goals is to like actually write a good song. I know that's kind of random, but I don't know. I'm just like I have some decent songs that I write that come out okay, but I'd like to get to a point where I have something that you know, I'm proud of that I would want to share with people. So there's a goal. But like as far as
what do you think makes a good song as compared to the songs that you've had so far?
um I think a song maybe that if I had listened to it, right, and didn't know who wrote it, then I'd say, "Oh man, that's really good." It catches my ear. That's something that I'd listen to on my own time. Um
Hmm.
so I don't know, it's interesting. It seems pretty simple. Like once you know a bit about music theory, like it seems like it would be really easy to write a song that you like, but it's really not. It's annoying. I don't know. Maybe I
Hmm.
know that like, you're your own biggest critic, right? You're your own worst critic. I don't know another word to say, but I don't know. It's just I don't know. I'd like to get to a point where something that I'd like to perform, and that's another goal of mine. I think would be to, because if I do pursue music, which might change, like I want to get to a point where I'm making things that I'm proud of, right, and that make other people happy. So,
Well, why do you say that might change?
um, well, just because like I mean, music's a very inconsistent, I think, route. Like, I don't wanna put all my actually, so, when I went and saw Barnes Courtney, he's an artist, I saw him live, and I've talked to him a couple times now, and the thing he told me about, about becoming a musician is he said, like, he always says there's no reason you can't, do it for a job, right? He's like, "Yeah, this is the easiest job in the world. I'm the luckiest guy in the world to be making a living off this." Actually, last time what he told me was, "Put all your eggs in one basket." That's what he said.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
he said if it's something that you really, really want, right, then, like he said he never got a 9 to 5. He said because, like, he felt like it was giving up. He felt like that would be proving everybody else right, right? So he kinda I mean, he's happy now, but he's also he's in his 30s and he's happy doing what he's doing, but, like, I don't know. It's just I'm scared to say that that's what I'm pursuing is, like, is music because I'm not expecting to blow up and be I'm not expecting to be playing Wembley Stadium in, like, 20 years, right? As much as I might like that, like, I don't know, it's a really scary, really I think it just feels I don't know if murky is the right word. I don't know what would happen, right, if I abandoned everything else and just pursued only music. Because I mean, I'm sure that like there are a lot of other things that I could do that, you know, pay pretty well and I could still find a happy life doing those things. But I don't know. I guess I'm kind of for now just saying go with the flow, right? I want to do a year of junior college, go on my mission, come back, get my required courses out of the way, and then, you know, see where my interests lie then, decide what I
Hmm.
want to do. Um, I don't know. I'm too scared to put all my eggs in one basket right now.
Okay. Well, can I give you some advice?
Yes.
Okay. There's no reason why. Well, I don't. This is something I've never understood. It's not just you, but there's a lot of people like this. I don't get this. The self-defeating stuff, like I'm not expecting to play Wembley Stadium. Why aren't you? Like, and here's the thing, right? The chances are slim, but like, why not? So like it's a completely different thing. I know it's a completely different thing. But when I started wrestling in my backyard with a little mattress, okay, everybody said it was the dumbest thing in the world. And then I was laughing at everybody when I was the first guy to bring New Japan Pro Wrestling to America.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and I'm sitting in the locker room with Rob Van Dam and Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe, and you're there at 4 years old, not paying attention to Bubba Ray Dudley. You know what I mean? Like, nobody would have ever thought that was going to happen. If I would have listened to all those people, you know, and here's the thing, right? I thought I would eventually wrestle main event WrestleMania. That didn't happen. But you know what did happen? New Japan and Impact, right? And that's pretty cool. The other thing is when I went to law school, or when I was at American River College, I told everybody I was going to go to law school, and my best friend in the whole world said I would never make it through. But the thing is that I thought, why couldn't I? Somebody makes it through. Someone works full time and goes to school full time and makes it through. And the point I'm making is this: is that you should have dreams that scare you. They're not big enough if they don't. Like when I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, like, okay, for me to go to WrestleMania, I have to lift weights 6 days a week. I have to eat right. I have to do all these things. I have to wrestle on the weekends. I have to do all this stuff. Like, I was willing to do all of that. Now, my priorities did change. I did what you did. I wrestled for a year. I went on a mission. I came back and I thought having kids and being around for them was more important to me than touring the world as a wrestler, right? But that's when I changed to law. And that was a grind. I mean, you saw it. You were the only one of the kids that did. I mean, you know, you were 6 years. How old were you? 6? You were 2012. So you were, yeah, 6. Yeah, you were 6, almost 6. So you were 5, almost 6. And so, you know, you have a little bit of a remembrance of living in that duplex. You have a little bit of remembrance of that stuff. And, you know, that it took me, now we're in a really great spot, but it took 20 years of bone crushing, soul searching work to get there, right? So who's to say if you didn't funnel all of your efforts, all of your energy, all of your stuff into being a rock star, you couldn't be, you know, headlining Wembley Stadium or headlining Golden One Center. I mean, that's still a pretty good life, right? I mean, Barnes Courtney's doing pretty well. He's not headlining Wembley. You know what I mean? He's headlining some like podunk little place in San Francisco, but it's sold out. And he has a music, he's living in, you know. So now that's not to say that if you decide you go on your mission and you come back and say, you know what, I don't want a touring lifestyle in music. It's not what I want to do. I want to be there for my kids. I mean, you've got the talent. Anybody who hears you singing and hears your stuff, you got the talent. So it's all about being willing to put in the hard work. Now, there are other parents who are probably listening to this and saying, Josh, what are you doing? Telling him to go become a rock star, right? But like, you could if you want to. Now, I'm not going to tell you you have to, and I'm not going to be upset with you if you don't, but don't self-limit, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
So let's switch that to why did you, I remember the day, this is coming from a place, tell everybody here a story. I wanted Austin to play basketball so bad, and he seemed to want to play basketball so bad. And then COVID hit, And then for some reason, he didn't want to play basketball anymore. He had picked up a guitar and started playing that and said, I want to do this. And I was very frustrated until he got really good at it. What made you want to pick up that guitar?
I mean, I think it was always kind of in the back of my head, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, I remember like I'd just be, cleaning my room and the little Sonos speaker in there playing like Pandora stations with like old, with like 80s rock songs on there and stuff. And like, I don't know, it always seemed kind of fun to me. Like Slash was always kind of a hero of mine, right? That was the big one. I was a huge Guns N' Roses fan. And like, it always seemed fun to be like, oh man, yeah, like imagine if I was, imagine if I could do that. Like, how cool would that be? Like it's pretty
Mhm.
freaking hot. Like, I don't know. I just think
Uh-huh.
it's just like the idea, the persona, like the enigma around it is like was so cool to me. And then I remember in 7th grade, I did I had choir and like I didn't really think I had any sort of musical aptitude before that. And then I got pretty okay at it for a 7th grader, and I like had like a solo or a duet at like the end of the year, and then that was like the last I'd, ever done, with all that. And then like I don't know. And then I got it into my head. I started listening to Barnes Courtney, and I got into my head. It was like, seeing like, what he's playing, at least that doesn't look too hard. Like that's not Slash level. I could probably do that, right? And then I got the acoustic guitar for Christmas, and then I decided, you know what, that's what I'm gonna do. Like I want to do that. And also it's nice because I didn't have to deal with like running. Like I could just stay fat and do it. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, that just seemed really appealing to me. So I did it, and then I taught myself, and then now I play guitar. So
Well, not only do you play guitar, but you've continued singing. Do you prefer, it seems like you like singing more than like playing guitar if you had to choose one. Is that fair?
mm, I don't know. I think it depends. I mean, it depends on, I think, the setting and also the song too, right? Like there's certain songs where I'd, way rather just sing, and there's certain songs where I'd rather focus on maybe developing some sort of a stage persona and, being able to do more outside of holding a big clunky guitar. But there's other songs that I really, really enjoy playing, right? And
Mhm.
I don't know, and it's also, I don't know, guitars make cool noises, so I think it just depends on the song and also my mood. I don't know. It all depends. I like them both.
Well, it's interesting. I just took Piper to see Lovejoy, Garbage, 311, Offspring, and one of the things that was really interesting about the Offspring lead singer is there are songs where he's playing the guitar, and then there's songs where he's just singing, right?
Mhm.
So you can do both. And the other thing about him, you mentioned going to college and wanting to do those things. Did you know that that guy has a PhD in molecular biology?
Really? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah, he's actually
Love
working
being
on
blind
stuff
so
in
like that. That's kinda funny.
he actually is working on things in AIDS, and he's written every single song Offspring has ever performed.
Holy,
So
would not have
super
expected that.
so right, you don't expect that. So the interesting thing is you can do all those things. You could be super, super smart and also play guitar and also sing. You can do all of that. So now that's something though I did want to bring up to you. I'm curious about this because you you don't necessarily like being the center of attention. Like that's not necessarily your thing, but you have a commanding presence and you like being the lead singer of a band. Why is that different than say just like a normal conversational setting?
I don't know. I don't really have a good answer for that. I don't know. I think, like I said, I mean, part of it may have been just the idea, right? And the like mysteriousness and enigma of like watching a show, right? If watching someone like command an audience is just, I don't know, it's so like there's certain shows you go to when it's someone you really, really admire and look up to, where like it's almost like it's that starstruck feeling, right? Like watching someone perform and just being like totally like they own you, they own your attention. And I don't know, it's really interesting to me. And I don't really like, I don't know, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of like attention in a lot of, situations, but there's other times where I am. So I think again it's another setting thing, right? Another situational thing. I don't know. I guess I don't really have a
So,
good answer for that, but
so let's explore that a little bit. What settings have you noticed that you do enjoy kind of getting some attention? Like we know on stage, right? But is there other settings you've noticed, like church dances or, speaking at church? What is it that you've noticed? I do actually like it.
Um, I don't think that's very consistent either, to be totally honest. Like there'll be certain, like I said, there'll be certain church dances where I'm in a really great mood, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be an idiot, right? Like,
Hmm.
and like I am an idiot a lot of the time, and then other times where I'm just like, I don't know, I'm not in the mood for it. I don't feel like drawing a lot of attention to myself, so I'll just be hanging out with friends like over in the corner, right? As lame as that sounds, like if it's what I'm feeling, then I'm gonna do it, right?
Mm.
Um, I don't know. Not really speaking at church. I don't think I've had a good talk since primary, so I don't know. I don't know too much about that one, but.
I don't agree. But what's interesting about that? So, do you ever find a situation um, where, say, we'll use a church dance as an example, where you go in and you're like, you know what, I'm not really feeling it. I'm not really feeling like I want to do anything or be goofy or anything, and then you kind of force yourself to, and that helps your mood change?
I think I think coming out of COVID, that's something I kinda had to do, and then I got more comfortable.
Mm,
I have my long, nasty hair. Don't wanna talk about
yeah.
that. And I think I don't know. I was I got really nervous around people around that time. I was like, I don't know if socially awkward is the right word for it, but it's definitely close to the right word because 'cause there'd be I don't know, I'd try to go hang out with new people and it'd be like, I'd feel really uncomfortable about it, and, like, I kinda act like a weirdo, and then I kinda force myself to be interesting, right, around certain people, and then it got to a point where, like, I don't know. I mean, I definitely, like I've definitely got a lot more comfortable with kinda I guess demanding attention in certain situations. It feels less forced now. It was definitely forced then. Um,
Mm.
but I don't know, yeah, like I
So
said, another thing where it just depends on who I'm around, right, and, like, the situation I'm in and how I'm feeling, whether or not I'm confident at that moment, so.
mm. Well, and that's the thing, right? Is that you're still developing as a person. It's important to remember, and I was actually just talking to your sister about this, not too well, just this last weekend. There's this people forget. Like I deal sometimes when I'm doing a trial, I have to talk about life expectancy. Did you know that life expectancy for a male, I think right now is 82 years old? Like that's average, right? So the average male, including all the people who die of car accidents or DUIs or drink themselves to death, commit suicide, 82. Okay. So you're 17. You got a long life. You're still learning. One
Mhm.
question came through. It seems kind of silly, but I'm going to ask it anyway. When Austin is a rich and famous musician, will he open up a music institute in Ohio?
Who asked that? Can I ask?
It was anonymous.
Okay, can I probably shouldn't say that. Um, Whoever that was, I hope you I hope you hurt yourself. Alright. Can I decline a comment on that question?
I am curious about the story, but yes, you don't have to answer if it's going to get you canceled. Okay. Um, Here's another question that came through. Are you going to give me money when you become a famous musician?
I can tell you right now the answer is no.
All right.
Specifically if it's Brian or Dom or Ty. I wanna say that. I wanna call them out specifically. If it's any of you guys, I hope you guys come to me asking for money so I can say no. I hope I wanna see your guys' smiles drop when I say no.
Wow. So now choir, you've developed a singing voice over time, and you developed pretty quickly. I mean, um, what is it about choir specifically that you enjoy versus, say, being in a rock band?
Well, the reason I actually, like, joined choir in sophomore year was because I wanted to get reacclimated to singing, like, I wanted to learn how to do it again. Because I remembered back in 7th grade, right, my choir teacher, he's really, really good, Mr. B, Mr. Blankenbuehler. He taught the whole class, like, how to sing, like, he's teaching, all these kinda nutsy middle schoolers how to, like, make good sounds with their voice, and I was like, "I wanna make good sounds with my voice," so, in sophomore year, I joined their, like, high school choir, the elective one, and then or I guess they're all elective, but Uh, and then I like started singing, and halfway through the year he let me into the advanced choir. So I don't know. I just kind of I don't know. I joined because I wanted to learn how to sing, and then I ended up joining Virtus, the advanced choir, and then while I was singing, just for like personal reasons, right? I ended up well, first of all, like that choir is amazing. Like it's beautiful. I love singing with the choir. It sounds amazing. Like
It
um
really is, and I'm not just saying that because I'm your dad. Like every year, they have been. It's quite a treat to go and listen to.
mhm. And yeah, definitely. It's really great. But also I think a big thing about that choir is like the culture. I have a lot of friends that I've gotten really, really close to because of choir. And that choir, it demands a lot sometimes, especially around this time of the year. It's a lot of fundraisers we do. We're going to we do trips. I went to Nashville in sophomore year, and this year we're gonna be going to New York. We're gonna be seeing a Broadway show, and we're gonna be singing in a festival, like a competition. So, yeah, I mean that's nice. The competition aspect is nice too. Because last time we went to like a big festival in Nashville, we got a big trophy, and we were something like half a point or a point away from getting a second big trophy. So this year we want both of them. So
Nice.
um, don't know if that's gonna happen, but I don't know. It's definitely nice to have that, and then also yeah, just the culture. A lot of my best friends are in that choir. I met my girlfriend in that choir, so I don't know. It's pretty amazing. So yeah.
Now I want that kind of. I'm going to get to another anonymous question here, but I just thought about this. About a year ago, a little longer than a year ago, a couple years ago, you were talking about leaving John Adams and leaving the choir, and you and you and I had a big conversation about it, and and when I say we, I mean I decided that you were not going to change, and you were pretty upset about that. Now, uh, and I got to tell you, like, I think you would agree that, especially this year, um, you have really blossomed and grown some really great relationships that are going to surpass just high school. You know, so maybe you could talk about what it means to you, these relationships you've formed in high school now. Like, tell me what that's meant to you.
I mean, it means a lot, right? These are the years that everybody looks back on and says, "Oh man, I miss them," right? So
Mhm.
I think, I don't know, all these people are gonna be like, I don't know if I'm sure there'll be, there's a select few that I know that I'm gonna, keep in contact with and that aren't ever really gonna totally leave my life, but there's also a lot of people that will, right? And they're gonna kind of fade into distant memory, but those are always like these are the moments that I'm gonna look back on. These are the good old days, like I'm living in them, right? So, and I know
Mhm.
that I'll continue to make good memories with different people in different situations in the future, but like it always seems to me that people have the best memories of when they were young, and I don't know. I think it's really cool that these are the people that I'm spending those years with. So
Mhm.
yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. There's something special about that.
Yeah, there really is. And it's funny because I see you and your friends, particularly like Dom and Cole and even Zariah and these different people. And it's fun to watch because I remember me and my friends Chris and Gil and Chris and Amanda and Debbie and like some of these people now because you're friends with their kids,
Mhm.
and it's just uh, those relationships, even though you don't talk all the time, like we'll use, Debbie as an example, like her and Kevin. I've known them for years and years and years. Their daughter Rachel, and like I talk to them all the time, not necessarily, but we still text every once in a while, and talk trash about you guys, so
Mhm.
so now, question, um, that's come through. Who is your favorite musician or group or both?
Um, well, I think right now, like objectively and subjectively, I think are two different things, right? Because I know there's certain bands where I'm not really, you know, I'm not really at a point where I'm listening to them a lot, but I still recognize them as like, you know, on like the Mount Rushmore of musicians. But then there's also certain musicians that hold a lot of personal weight that maybe not a lot of people listen to, like Barnes Courtney, right? He's definitely one of my favorites. I think the two bands that would have to be like the most important to me, like my favorite two right now would be Barnes Courtney and then the Strokes. I really really love the Strokes, and specifically the singer, Julian. I don't know if it's Casablancas or Casablancas, but Julian Casablancas. Like listening to all his side projects and stuff. That's been like he's been a huge influence on me and like in my songwriting and the things that I listen to and enjoy. And same with this, like the Smashing Pumpkins. They're another big one.
Mm.
But if I had to pick one, it would. I don't know. It'd probably be Julian Casablancas. As a performer, it would be Barnes Courtney because I've seen him live twice now, and he was pretty spectacular. So, but as an artist, as a musician, it would be Julian Casablancas.
So have you heard of the Bleachers?
No, I've never heard of the Bleachers.
Have you heard of Jack Antonoff?
That sounds really familiar. Yeah.
So I just discovered him. I took your sister to that Almost Acoustic Christmas, and they came out, and he blew me away. It's like you're hanging out in the middle of a John Hughes 80s 90s movie, and he's got two saxophones, two drummers, like all these people. He does collaborations with everybody. He's written songs for everybody. He's like Taylor Swift's like co-producer on everything since 2019. You got to listen to him. He's like such a great performer. You should check him out. You'd really like him a lot. There's one thing that was really interesting that I just did a podcast with a guy. He calls himself Reverend Peyton. It's Reverend Peyton's Big Damn Band, and I was talking to him about this very subject, and he's mentioned how art is so subjective and stuff. But one thing that he said, and I'll share it with you, that I thought was really striking, is he said, I make art that I like I make art that I want. And if other people like it, yes, but true art is for the artist, not for, so you write a song, it's for you, it's for the artist, not the listener. So if your favorites are, the Strokes and Barnes Courtney, it doesn't matter if anybody else likes it, right? It's what you like. So, okay, so let's shift gears to basketball. You randomly decided you're going to play basketball this year. What changed? Why did you want to play this year?
Well, I got kind of fat for one. And also, I don't know. I mean, I always loved basketball, right? That's what I did from like kindergarten all the way through 8th grade. I stopped because COVID hit, and like I said, well, first of all, music, but also, I got a little. I don't know. I was never a good runner, and Coach Roger, he makes you run a lot of running, and it's nice because it's gotten a lot easier for me to do that because I've run so much. But I don't know. The idea of going into that was pretty scary too, and so I was thinking about doing it junior year, but I wasn't sure, and it seemed like too much work. I didn't really want to. And this year, I figured, screw it. It's my senior year. It's my last chance, right? And I got a lot of really good friends on the team, so I tried out, made it, and here I am. Playing varsity. Like, I'm not a starter or anything, but I'm playing the game, I'm scoring some points, I'm doing stuff, I'm helpful. So yeah, I don't know. It was just figured might as well, right?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, some of the friends that I still talk to, they came from playing basketball in high school. It's almost like it's weird. That and admission are the two places where it doesn't matter where I go in life. If I run into a teammate or I run into somebody from my mission, it's like you went to war together. You know what I mean? It's like you just, because you remember all those practices, you always remember those things. You have shared experiences that nobody else has, especially, when you're playing basketball. Because, the wins and losses, like you share in those feelings and those emotions, And so I'm really proud of you for doing that, because some of my best memories came from playing basketball. I mean, it was, and I got a lot of cool experiences. One of the questions that came through, who's your favorite Kings player?
De'Aaron Fox, for sure.
Yeah. Why De'Aaron over Sabonis?
Well, obviously Sabonis is great. He's like our own little mini Jokic. But the thing about De'Aaron Fox is he's our franchise player. Like we drafted him. Mm-hmm. That's when I really started watching basketball. Was the year we drafted De'Aaron. So like just watching him develop is like Sabonis. Obviously he's amazing, right? He's like kind of saved our franchise a little bit. We're actually winning, and a lot of that is due to him. You like facilitate the whole offense through him. But I mean, it's just like I have there's a special place in my heart for De'Aaron, just because he's been on our team the whole time. He's never demanded a trade, even though over the last few years he would be completely and entirely justified in doing so because of how terrible the Kings have been, and that's not his fault. But yeah, I don't know. That's just why I prefer De'Aaron personally. But yeah, that's just me.
Okay, so here's a question for you: if you were the GM and you went back to that moment when we got Sabonis, would you rather have De'Aaron Fox or Tyrese Halliburton?
Knowing what I know now?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of hard to argue that you keep Fox over Halliburton.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like, people get mad at me for saying that, but that's true. Halliburton is now look, here's the thing, right? It was a smart trade because they weren't going to take they were not you wouldn't have been able to make that trade work because De'Aaron Fox's contract was so big. You couldn't have made the trade. It wouldn't have been impossible. And really what you did was you traded a future all-star for a current all-star, right? You got somebody like Sabonis, and it obviously worked out. We're in the playoffs. Man, Tyrese Halliburton. I mean, like, that guy is a traditional point guard, and he is very, very good. And the thing that's a problem, my view, this is just my view, and I hope I'm wrong. De'Aaron Fox is a good scoring point guard. But how many scoring point guards do you know that have won championships?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just
Isaiah Thomas, right? I mean, you can make an argument Steph Curry is a shooting point guard, but he's really more of a shooting guard, right? I mean,
Curry's a point guard though. He's a scoring point guard, and he won 4. So I guess
he's really more of a shooting guard. So I mean, he's okay, maybe, and Steph Curry, right? But De'Aaron Fox isn't Steph Curry, and also Steph Curry had Klay Thompson. For a lot of those, and he also had Kevin Durant and Draymond Green, right? And Sacramento isn't going to have that. My point is Tyrese Halliburton is a traditional point guard that makes everybody better.
But now, also the game's changed to a point where it's so heavily scoring. We see all these records that keep getting broken, and that's because the game has changed to kind of it's a lot harder to defend now without getting foul calls and stuff. And that's the reason Curry won 4 championships. He changed the whole game just because it's just scoring. That's
a once in a lifetime player too. I mean, he opened the whole game up to where now you have to guard guys at the half court because they just bomb threes. And centers, traditional centers, don't have a place in the league anymore because they have to be able to guard the three. So so now maybe this goes in this place or maybe not. Maybe it's something more than just basketball, but what is one thing that you could improve on? It's an anonymous question.
I mean, I think so. Outside of basketball, I mean, because there's a lot I can improve on there. I think maybe being less of a douche when I argue. I think that's a pretty big one. I know that I can come across as, I don't know. I like to call people out on their stupidity, and I don't do it in a very nice way a lot of the time. So. I don't know. It has not so much this year, but in past years, it has caused words to be thrown around. It has caused screaming, but normally it's not me doing the screaming, so it's okay. But that's something maybe I could do a better job of, is being a little more professional when I debate people, I guess.
Well, you are still 17 and learning. That is a learned trait. But what do I know? I mean, I just yell at people, and then they listen to me in my arguments. So, you got to just find what works, right? So, okay, here's a fun question. If you had a punch in the face list, who's on top?
Can I do a top 5?
Yes.
I think number 1 is Dominic Passos. I think he'd be number 1. I'm gonna call him out right now. Number 2, Hitler, for sure.
Gotta have that one on there. I find it funny how Dom was before Hitler on that one. Does that mean
gotta have your priorities straight, man? I don't know. Let's see. 3 would be Draymond Green, I think.
He would punch you way harder, just so you know.
Yeah, but okay, it's not about it's not a get punch in the face.
Okay.
4 would be Brian Sanchez.
Who?
Don't worry about it. And
Okay. I'm gonna write
5,
that down. Follow up
5,
later.
5 would either be Osama bin Laden or Willis, for sure.
Wow. Okay.
All right.
Willis is getting a lot of talk here. That
Yeah.
was actually another question that came through. The question was, what do you think about Willis?
F that guy. I don't know. Dom threw a party for him, actually. Funny enough, he didn't deserve it.
Ah,
I hate Willis.
mm,
Um,
mm.
I don't. Next question. I don't have anything to say about him.
Well, here's something we can get into. You are the first child, which I, as a first child myself, I know that's hard. What this question comes? What is an important quality in a big brother?
Um, well, I think it's important to kind of be there, like when they need me, kind of be almost like, I mean, not exactly, but kind of a third parent, right? Like maybe when you guys are
Mm,
busy or you guys are doing something, you guys are dealing with your own problems. Like it's my job to sort of fill in. Not that I've needed to all that much, but um I think that's definitely something important that I should do, that I think I do when I need to, right? And also, pounding them into shape, making sure make sure they don't suck. I think is a really important one, and I'm trying really hard. I'm trying the best I can. Um, is it working? We'll have to see. But like, I try to bully the nerd out of them, but I don't know if it's working, Dad. I don't know. I'm trying my best. There's not
I
much
mean,
more.
I appreciate
You need to help me out.
I appreciate you trying so hard. I've been trying too. I don't know.
Mm.
Uh, so um, so let's see. Here's some other. Now here's something I want to talk to you about. Is let's talk about your faith. So you're a member of the church, and I have seen over the last few years your testimony grow immensely. And a question came through. Let me see if I could find it. Well, it was asked in a context of, let me see here. What advice would you give a young man your age who is struggling with his testimony?
Hmm. I think so. That's a very difficult question, right? It's very difficult because when it comes to things like, the strength of testimony and conversion for some people too, is what I've noticed, is that it's a very, very personal thing. It's between you and God, right? So I think, the best thing you can do is to put yourself in the right situations and just sincerely, truly pray about it, right? Because that's the most important thing, is remembering that, like, I mean, God's always there, right? No matter what. Like, who was it today that was, talking about the footprint in the sand story, right? There's only one
Mhm.
set of footprints because, God was, or Jesus was carrying us or whatever. Um, I don't know. That's really, really difficult, right? Because there's a lot of different things that contribute to, like, maybe a decline of faith or testimony. But I mean, it's remembering, first of all, seeing the positive benefits in life, and also remembering that, it's sometimes just the best way to do it is just to feel God's love. And I think that's something that can be recognized for sure. But there's definitely, I mean, the thing that I think reinforced my testimony the most was FSY. Did
Mhm.
I don't know if I told you this story specifically. I probably did, but
Mhm.
um, I went out there, and to be honest, the only reason I signed up, this was in, I think, like December or January beforehand, right? Was because my friend's hot cousin signed up, right? And then so we signed up the same week, and then March I got a girlfriend, so I was like, well, that's out the window. I don't even know where I'm going anymore. Um, so so yeah, I went not really expecting
I
much,
did
right?
not. I did not know about the hot cousin. But anyway, just
Well,
moving on.
well, there you
Good
go.
thing
Well,
you
yeah,
kept. Good thing you kept that to yourself while I was signing you up. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, so I mean, I went in there not really expecting much because I heard good and bad things. I've heard some people that had really good experiences and some people that just thought it was kind of boring, right? It's like a lot of religious classes and stuff. Um, so I went in with maybe not the greatest mindset. Like I had an open mind. I was like, oh, this is gonna suck, right? But I figured, well, it's the summer. I'm not doing anything anyways. Might as well go. I wasn't expecting anything big or spiritual to happen from it, but I really, really, really felt the spirit for the first time there. It was like the first time I've had a really powerful emotional experience. And I remember when it happened was um, on the day before the last day, um, you have this, you have your companies, right? And they have these little testimony meetings inside of like there's like two or three companies in there. And there wasn't really like there were my friends from my company, but there wasn't anyone in there that I like was, I really knew. Um, so it was just me kind of alone with with a couple friends that I made along the way, but then just also my thoughts, right? And this idea of forgiveness had kind of been preached throughout the whole thing. It was like kind of a common concept and theme. And there were I don't know, there were certain things I realized that I hadn't forgiven people for that like I don't know, it was kind of eating me up inside. And like for the first time I really realized, right, like Jesus Christ like forgives everyone for everything. Like no matter what, all you have to do is ask for forgiveness, right? Like all you have to do is come with an open heart and a contrite spirit, right? Just let him help you, right? And that was really really beautiful to me, right? Because if we're trying to be like Jesus, right? And Jesus Christ forgives everyone of everything, then who are we to hold grudges, right? Who are we to, who are we not to forgive? Like who do we think we are, right? And
Mhm.
I don't know, that's something yeah, like there's something that I think people need to understand is that we're not any better than all of these like like the most religious people are no better. I think they're no less capable of wickedness than the people that that have fallen into it, right? We're all on the stairs, either up to heaven or down to hell. We're just on different spots, it's the same staircase, right?
Mhm.
I think it's important to remember is that like all these people that are in these dejected places that that are sinning, or that may be treating other people harshly, like we're capable of the same thing, right? We're as humans, as souls, we're no better than them. So I think that's really important to remember. So like I don't know, just forgiveness has just been it was such a huge thing, and that was the first time I really really felt the testimony was when that idea just kind of it hit me, and I just felt the spirit wash over me. I was sobbing like a little girl. I felt so stupid. Like I wanted to go and get up and bear my testimony, but I couldn't even stand up. Like I was shaking all over. I was sobbing, and so I ended up bearing my testimony just in we have little R&R, I think, reflection review or something like that at the end of every night. So I bore my testimony to all the guys in my company or in my dorm just that night. Um but, like, walking out of there, I remember, like, seeing all my friends and, I was crying and, I was giving them all hugs, they were all in other companies and, like, I felt like such a baby. But I don't know, it was really, really powerful, and I think that's something that I've kind of remembered and carried throughout, like I've just tried to think back every time I'm kinda struggling with my testimony, right, at all, if I'm having any doubts or anything, just remember, like, "Come on, man, you know it's true, like, you felt it, like, you know for a fact that it's true," and I think that's something that people need to kind of come to know for themselves is I think the most difficult thing about struggling with your testimony, right? Because I mean, if you really wanted to know and if you really would make that change, if you're really willing to make that change when then God will give you that knowledge. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know, I
Yeah,
guess thank you
yeah,
for coming
that's
to talk.
well, no, I think that what you just said hit it on the head, and I can learn a lot from you. That is forgiveness is something. I mean, just in my own life, some of the people that have hurt me, us, um, that has been something that I've really, really struggled with. But you're right, and that's something I'm working on. We're all human. We're all working on things, and it's hard, especially when they're not really that sorry, But you're a great example to me because you do forgive everybody, and that that means a lot. That you can be an example of that. And what I would tell you about everything that you just said is that I know some of the, not, I'm sure I don't know all of it, but I know some of the things that you've had to forgive. And it's really, really not easy. And what I would also tell you is this stuff that you're talking about. You know, the stuff that you've gone through a lot. You have. We all have. And you've had to struggle through some things. But this is not going to be the last time. You know, I used to joke with people when they'd say this is like the worst day of my life. I'd be like, worst day of your life so far, right? Because they're just this life, for some reason, this test that we're on is a test of your endurance. It's just a test of how much can you take. It's just that's really what it is, and it stinks. Sometimes it stinks, and it goes like this. It goes up and down. It's not just like up this way or down this way. It's peaks and valleys. So you're probably going to have a lot of really big peaks. I've had a ton of big peaks. This weekend was one of them with your sister. You know, going to Metallica with you and your brother. You know, that whole weekend. Going to Chicago and seeing CM Punk return in AEW. Like, those are peaks, right? And there have been some serious valleys. But you having those experiences, those undeniable experiences, are what get you from one peak to the next.
Amen.
I've had a few of them. I've had a lot of them, actually. There have been a few that have been so important to me, that in those moments where I'm like, why am I doing this? Why am I going forward? Why are we, what is the point? That's the point, is Jesus forgives us of all of our sins. And who are we to turn away from him just because things aren't going our way? Right? And so anyway, so there's your TED Talk. Now, moving on from that, next question. Are you going to serve a mission? And if yes, where would you want to go?
Yes. Yeah, I'm planning on serving a mission. And that's an awesome question, because I don't know. I mean, pros and cons, right?
So,
I think learning a language is-
let me real quick. Let me ask you, because I I wanted to stay stateside. But the reasons I wanted to stay stateside was because I thought a language was going to be hard, and also because I know that like mail was really hard, and I had someone who was supposedly waiting and was writing me every week, and grandma was writing me every week, and everybody was, so it was like I really wanted to be somewhere where I could get mail. But it's different because you have email. So do you think you would rather be foreign, or would you rather stay in the States?
That's weirdly similar to like how I'm thinking, just because I'm really terrified of learning a new language. I think that would, like, if I had to choose between English speaking or, foreign language, I'd probably pick English speaking. I know that's not a very common opinion. I know a lot of people think that'd be really cool, but it's just like you get like what 3-4 weeks of language training, and then it's just full immersion. Like, you have no idea what anyone's saying for like 2 months. Like, that's, I don't know. I mean, again, it would be a really awesome experience if I did. And I know that if I did that, and if I did go learn another language and serve, foreign, then looking back, I'd be like, oh man, I'm really glad that happened. I would definitely prefer that to stateside. But where I am right now, like looking forward, I'd be a lot, I don't know. It's a lot more safe, it feels like, to go stateside for me. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, wherever God wants me to go, I'm going to go. So
Would you be more interested in staying stateside or foreign if you could go to a foreign place that speaks English?
oh, foreign. And yeah, foreign, obviously.
Okay, so it's just the language thing. It's interesting because it's a catch-22, because like everybody I know who's gone foreign really loved their missions. But then like I had a buddy, my best friend Chris, you know him. He went to Colorado. He was originally English speaking and then changed to Spanish like halfway through.
Oh man.
And like the second half of his mission was really hard, because trying to acclimate to the language, they spend so much time trying to do the language that they kind of might miss a little bit. But yeah, you got the right So okay, if you had to choose then one place, where would it be?
In the entire world, I mean, probably either Africa, I think would be amazing, or just like I don't know, France or England, so I don't have to learn another language. There you go. I'll come back with a British accent. Be pretty cool.
So what if let me throw this out at you. What if you could go to a place where missionaries previously couldn't go? Like what if they opened up China, or they opened up like
Mm,
some, or would you rather just be like, that sounds dangerous?
I think it would be really, really cool to go to somewhere like China. I mean, would I come back? That was a question, you know. But I don't know. I mean, that would definitely be. I would definitely be proud to be going there. You know, even though that is really scary, right? Again, if God wants me
Mhm.
there, then I'll go. So.
Yeah, awesome. All right, I think we got a couple more questions, and then we'll wrap it up with the three I ask everybody. Hold on one second. I went through all of these. Oh, here's you're ridiculously good looking. So there's your uh, and humble. Let's see. Okay.
You too, man.
What is something? Oh, this is a little self-serving, but that's okay. What is something that you have learned from your dad that you think would be important to teach your own children in the future,
Um, I
other than
think.
dad jokes?
Well, I'm definitely not gonna do that to my kids. Um, I think, I think work ethic is pretty important. I like to think that I have a pretty good work ethic now and that I'm developing it, but it's really, really scary because I can't remember where the heck I heard it, but I heard something. It said, weak men create hard times create strong men, strong men create easy times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. And I don't know, looking around, it's pretty easy times here. So, you know, I'm hoping that I can develop the work ethic. And, you know, if I can develop that work ethic, then that's definitely the thing that I think you've definitely done the best you can in helping me develop that work ethic. And I think that once I gain that, that's something that I'm gonna need to try to, you know, push on my kids without like, I don't know, making their lives hell or anything. I don't know. Maybe I'll just raise them
Well,
poor. Maybe I'll be poor on purpose and just, you know.
well, here's what I would tell you about that. Don't sell yourself short. Just because financially things are okay doesn't mean that things are always okay. You've gone through some stuff, and you've had some hard times that you've had to rise above. And I could tell you that some of those things have been going on recently, right? And you've still excelled, right? You've still excelled. And that's impressive. And that's what I think work ethic really is. Work ethic to me is not just let's work hard, because anybody can work hard. It's working hard when you don't want to, right? Like people talk about, and we've talked about this, but people talk about motivation. And it's not motivation. Anyone can go to the gym when they're motivated. Anyone can go shoot hoops when they're motivated, right? Anybody can be motivated to play their guitar when they heard an awesome song that they want to learn. It's on the days that you don't want to do it. That's when it's most important. It's the discipline part. And that is one thing that I think that if I were to instill in you, that would be it, is that you have it. It's not perfect, but you have it. I've never seen somebody when they're and this is why I got on you. I've gotten so, quite frankly, I mean, we're kind of pulling the curtain back on some of the Edlow stuff, but like why I've been so hard on you is because when I see when you have drive. So when you want something, there's no stopping you. You will play that guitar 8 hours a day if you want. You will go and you'll get up at 4 a.m. and run. I mean, I'll tell a story. You don't like me to brag on you, but I'm going to. This kid, before he knew conditioning was coming up, was getting up at 4 a.m. and running and shooting hoops before he needed to go to seminary. Not every day, but a lot. You were lifting weights every night. You were getting ready for that because you wanted it. And so you have it in you. It's having that. Mike Tyson said, discipline is doing the things that you hate, but doing it like you love it. Right. And so that, that's why, like, in the morning when it doesn't matter to me when my alarm goes off. It doesn't matter to me whether I want to or not. I get up, I go to the gym, I go to work, I do all these things. That is what has created the life that you think is so easy. Is that for me, this life that you have has not been easy. It has been hard, hard, hard. And, I sometimes wonder if I'm going to die early because I'm working I've been grinding so hard on it. But you know what, though? I wouldn't do it any different, because the thing is, and this is me kind of just being a dad now for a moment, is that I remember when I'm digressing a little bit, but I remember when I went on my mission. I remember when I finally caught the vision, like 3 months, 6 months in, and I was really, really into it, and I was starting to get into leadership and doing all this stuff. I remember one time thinking to myself, I saw a group of missionaries leaving, and I said, I want to, when I leave this mission, I want to have to crawl on that plane, because because anything that you do, you only get out of it what you put into it. So I wanted to put everything into it. And I did. My shoes were worn to pieces. My suit was held together in duct tape. I mean, it was jacked. I never worked that hard in my life. And so when I came home, I remember saying that a mission is a lot like a symbol of life, right? You come here, you're here for a short time, you die, you go home, right? So I said, I want to do that with life. And when I finally give up the grave, or give up the ghost to go to the grave, I want to have sucked every single thing out of this life that I could. And that's why, what's that?
Nothing. Continue.
So, I would just tell you that you want to be a rock star, you can do that. If you want to be, you want to be a lawyer someday, you can do that. You want to be both, you can do that. There's a partner in my office right now who is both. Like, you want to be a wrestler, podcaster, lawyer, dad, you can do all of those things. You're not going to sleep a lot, but you can do it all. So, okay. I'm going to ask you three questions. And I ask everybody. So I'm going to start with this. One, what's your biggest success in life?
So far, my biggest success in life. I don't know. I mean, personally, I don't know if I have a lot of successes. I mean, I guess the thing I'm most proud of right now would be, I guess, my musical abilities to this point, like how far I've come, as opposed to like 3-4 years ago. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, this is me dad bragging a little bit, but you get into an international honor choir, I'd say that's a big success.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, you forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah, that's a big one. And how many kids in your class made it to the state honor choir this year?
Well, I mean, regional we had like 6 or 7, but I'm the only one that made all state this year.
Ah, okay. That's a pretty big success, right? Yeah. Don't shrug your shoulders, be proud. You did it.
I mean, half the kids that made regional couldn't sing, but that's okay. I love you all, if any of you are listening, but some of you can't sing. I think you know who you are.
All right, what's your biggest failure and what did you learn from it?
I mean, I guess my biggest failure up to this point would probably be my grades sophomore year. Would be my biggest failure. Failed a couple of classes, had to do summer school. I learned that school was really hard now, and that I had to work a lot harder than I was. And I learned that I couldn't just cruise through it like I had been. And I learned that missing assignments weren't just boxes that I could check later, and that they actually add up to things. So I learned to, I guess, work harder in the setting of school. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that's funny. I remember, I think it was a sophomore in college. And I remember It was like the dumbest thing. I was telling a friend of mine. I was like, they have these office hours. I should probably go and check that out in this one class. And I remember going to the office hour and the professor giving me literally all the he looked at my essay and told me everything I needed to do to get an A. And I was sitting there and I was like, you're telling me that I could come to office hours and they will tell me how to get an A. And so I started going to office hours junior year through senior year, and my grades drastically improved. And it was just a situation of me being like, you mean if I put in a little bit of effort, they actually succeed, right? And I think you've learned that a little bit too. Last question. One day, I hope I'm not around for it, but one day you're going to pass away and someone will give your eulogy. What do you want? What's the one thing you want someone to say about you in your eulogy?
Think that I made people happy, right? That I wasn't a douche my whole life.
You
I
mean like as in you finally grew out of it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Just that I made the people around me happier. I made their lives better. I think that's the biggest thing, because I think, doing good, right? The virtuous life is the happiest one. I think doing good is going to, bring about the happiest life. And, in self-reflection, when I'm lying on my deathbed, I want to be proud of all the things I did. So.
Yeah. I'll throw you another motivational Tony Robbins quote or whatever. Just remember that, like, if you are afraid of failure or hard work, that is not going to sting as hard as regret later in life. So, live your life in a way that you don't regret things afterwards. If you want something, go get it. Because you can literally, and I'm just, this is just a dad-son moment here. But I've seen you. I know you. I've known you your whole life. Okay. And I can tell you that you undoubtedly could do anything you want.
Thank you.
You just have to put it forward. Sure, there's a little bit of the fact that you're a 6'3", blonde-haired, blue-eyed white kid that's probably going to help you from a 1%er dad. But yeah, take it. But I would tell you that I'll wrap this up by saying I couldn't be prouder of you. I really couldn't. You have grown into such an amazing young man. I couldn't have expected it. I always knew you were going to be good, because you came from me, right? But I mean, like, I always knew you were going to be good. I always knew you were going to be okay. I never doubted for a second, but I am so impressed with what you've become. And I just can't wait for you to see what you do next. So don't F it up.
I'll try my best not to. Can I read
this? Yes. Yes, I forgot. Dom quotes. Do it.
Okay. Every single one of these quotes came from the mouth of Dominic Patricio Passos. Can I say his address? I'm not going to say his address. Okay. Here we go. If I were Jesus, I would get rid of free will. I like eating big man meat. Doesn't everyone waffle stomp? If you don't know what that means, don't look it up. And there's one more. I hate homeless people so much. Something about them just ruins my day. Just $1. No, just get a job. It's not that hard. There you go.
I would like to retract the earlier statement about all of your friends are good kids. I might have to do some editing there. Jeez.
Yeah, I hope he tries to get a job and somebody finds this.
I'm gonna keep all those in. Anyway. All right. Well, man, now I question your friend selection. Anyway, I know I'm joking.
It gets worse.
All right. Well, for the you say it gets worse. Oh, jeez.
Dom's not a good one.
All right. All right. Well, for those of you who following along, subscribe. Follow Twisted Youth, Austin's rock band, and can't wait to see what comes next. Love you.
Love you.